All right, guys, so our spiral to war with Iran is looking more and more inevitable as the days go on, and it now looks like Donald Trump is gearing up for a direct strike using U.S. military forces on Iran in the immediate future. So to start off here with some of the latest statements that we've gotten from Trump himself, this is just from yesterday on his Truth Social. He says, Iran should have signed the deal that I told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. He is telling the capital city of Iran, housing more than 9 million people, to evacuate. What possible justification would you have for saying this unless Israel and the United States were planning to flatten Tehran in the immediate future? I mean, utter and complete insanity. Imagine if Vladimir Putin or if Xi Jinping came out and said everyone must immediately evacuate New York City. I mean, this is an act of terrorism in and of itself. Now, we'll circle back around to that here in a second. But just as a reminder for everybody, in terms of Trump saying, oh, Iran should have signed the deal, they cannot have a nuclear weapon, I pointed this out in one of my recent videos, but Ali Shimkhani, a top Iranian advisor who was engaging with the Trump administration, went on record last week clearly saying, quote, we are ready to never have a nuclear weapon. We want better relations with the United States. He was then scheduled for a high-stakes talk on last Sunday to work out the final parameters of a potential deal, and then Israel killed him in his home on Friday when they launched this illegal, hostile war of aggression. They killed him, the top Iranian negotiator, on a potential nuclear deal where this guy was openly saying, we're fine, we don't need a nuclear weapon. We'll work out a deal for sanctions relief. We want better relations with the United States. Israel murders him. So the notion that Iran was some sort of an obstacle to ensuring that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, it's complete and utter nonsense. Continuing on with that, we had Trump on Air Force One questioned about a Tulsi Gabbard Tulsi Gabbard testifying in March that Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon based on our own intelligence agencies looking at Iran and saying, no, they're not actually working towards a nuclear weapon right now. And he says, I don't care what she said. They were very close to getting a nuke. You don't care what the head of one of your major intelligence agencies said about this? You don't care about that. So he's, to be clear, rebuking U.S. intelligence in favor of completely unsubstantiated intelligence from Israel to justify this. Continuing on that, we have here from the Wall Street Journal. Their headline is, Israel built its case for war with Iran on new intelligence. Again, new intelligence. The U.S. didn't buy it. American spy agencies stand by their assessment that Iran hasn't decided to build a nuclear weapon, but Trump now says Tehran is very close. One more here from CNN. U.S. intelligence assessments had reached a different conclusion. Not only was Iran not actively pursuing a nuclear weapon, but it was also up to 3 years away from being able to produce and deliver one, according to 4 people familiar with the assessment. Our own intelligence agencies making it explicitly clear that what Benjamin Netanyahu was claiming and what the Trump administration is claiming now is not true, right? This is Iraq War WMD 2.0. They're just running back the playbook, this time on Iran. Here from Trita Parsi, another important point here. Former head of the IAEA is writing that what Israel and Trump are doing with this war of aggression will destroy the Non-Proliferation Treaty and fuel nuclear proliferation, since only possessing nukes will be perceived as a guarantee against this type of aggression. And this is a really important point here, guys, because even if your goal is to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, what are you doing with this act of war right now? You're ensuring that Iran and everybody else who wants nukes around the world right now knows that they cannot deal with the United States. Because what did we just do? We just used the guise of having some sort of a nuclear negotiation with Iran as cover to attack them. So how could anybody possibly trust the United States or Israel that we are good faith partners in any sort of negotiations? They can't. And now this is going to lead to Iran, as well as anybody else, again, who wants a nuclear weapon, saying, we can't do deals with you. Right? So we might as well get a nuke, because at least if we had a nuke, then that would be a deterrence from Israel and the United States trying to do regime change against us. That's the clear message, and that's the clear outcome that this is going to deliver. We also have, again, on Tehran here, video after Trump put out that statement demanding millions of people flee the Capitol, massive lines of traffic as people were trying to get out. We also have Trump, I guess you could call it clarifying or backtracking on that statement to immediately evacuate. So the question was, what was the thinking on the call for Tehran to evacuate? Is there a threat or incoming? And Trump says, no, not at all. I want people to be safe, and that's always possible. A thing like that could happen. So first he says, no, not at all. It's not a threat. But then he finishes by saying, it's always possible, and that could happen. So which one is it? Is it a threat? Is it not a threat? I mean, I think the easy read here is that Trump put out this initial statement, basically telegraphing that the United States is about to strike Tehran. And then he sort of didn't want to make it that clear. And so he backtracks a little bit here and he says, oh, no, there's nothing to worry about. I just want people to be safe. Continuing with more insane Trump warmongering here, we have, again, a Truth Social post. He says, we know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, and then puts kill, exclamation point, in parentheses, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention on this matter. So here we have Trump backing up what Israel has been asking for over the last couple of days, an assassination of the supreme leader in Iran, the Ayatollah. They're talking about directly murdering him and trying to destabilize the entirety of Iran to bring it to its knees. And this is one of the major goals here, guys. To be clear, this is not about nuclear weapons. That's not what this is about. This is about regime change. This is about ensuring that there is no challenge whatsoever in the region to Israel and the United States having hegemonic unilateral control. That's what this is actually about. Iran poses that challenge in the form of both themselves as well as proxies or allies in Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas. That is what this is actually about. It is a regime change operation to turn Iran into Iraq or into Libya in order to destroy it so that it cannot pose any sort of challenge to Israel or the United States. And here we have the President of the United States. I mean, this is genuinely one of the most deranged things that a U.S. president has ever put out. We have the U.S. president openly just threatening to assassinate the leader of Iran. What the fuck are we doing, guys? Another one here, just in all caps by itself, unconditional surrender. What does this even mean? You just launched an illegal act of aggression against Iran, and you're saying they need to unconditionally surrender. What does that mean? They need to agree to completely evaporate their entire nuclear program, including civilian purposes? Is that what this means? Does this mean submitting to regime change operations? Is that what this means? Who the fuck knows? Unconditional surrender after you just launched an illegal, hostile act of aggression against this country. Also here, from Michael Tracy, interesting words being used here from Donald Trump, who has been wishy-washy as to whether or not the United States is even involved in this so far. He says, we being the operative word here, now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to the American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Stuff? Nobody does it better than the good old USA. Again, the important word here being we now have complete control over the skies of Iran. Not Israel, but we. Again, confirming the U.S. role in all of this. Now, I don't even know what the fuck to make of this, guys. Here we had Mike Huckabee sending a text message to Donald Trump that Donald Trump then posted online, I guess because he agrees with it in some sense, but brace yourselves, guys. Keep in mind, this is Mike Huckabee. This is the U.S. ambassador to Israel. He is a full-blown Christian Zionist end times cult believer. And this is what he said to Trump. He said, Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania, talking about the failed assassination against Trump, to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters, his voice, talking about God. I am your appointed servant in this land and am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. He's talking to Trump as if Trump is the Messiah. He says, no president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. What happened with Truman in 1945? Oh, that's when the United States, the only country to ever use nuclear weapons, dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's what he's referencing here, as if to suggest, Donald Trump, you have a moment right now, nuke Iran. I don't know what else you could possibly read into this. He's saying Truman in 1945. That's what happened in 1945. We nuked Japan. And that's what he's alluding to here. He says, I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure that our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you, Mike Huckabee. Keep in mind, guys, this wouldn't be the first time that a U.S. president has invoked sort of a revelation from God, or believes that they were sent here by God to invade a country in the Middle East. This also happened with George W. Bush, to be clear. This was part of his internal logic that he used for invading Iraq. He felt like that is what God told him to do, that he could save the United States in the wake of 9/11 by toppling Saddam Hussein and liberating the people there. And I think Trump, although I don't think he's as religious as a guy like Mike Huckabee, I do think after that failed assassination attempt that he genuinely believes that there was like some sort of a higher power that intervened, and that he was destined to be here in the White House at this moment, and that this is sort of the kind of justification that he could give. I mean, sort of a not so veiled suggestion here that God might whisper into Trump's mind that maybe you should nuke Iran. Maybe you should nuke Iran. Jesus Christ, guys, this is our government. This is our government. So, to recap here from Prem Thacker, he says Trump told the entire 10 million population in Tehran to evacuate. He said the U.S. has total control over the skies over Iran. He threatened to kill Iran's leader and then posted unconditional surrender. Also important to point out here, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have not said a word yet. The leader of the Democrats in the Senate, the leader of the Democrats in the House, have not said a fucking word about any of this yet. The last thing that I saw Chuck Schumer post on his social media page on Twitter was from a couple of weeks ago, where he was attacking Trump from the right and insinuating that he was the taco, the Trump always chickens out president, because he wasn't being hard enough on Iran. He was attacking Trump for the negotiations that were going on. So again, we do not have an anti-war party here. That does not exist. We have a pro-war, pro-imperialist uniparty in this country. Absolutely insane. Another thing here, in terms of the U.S. media, because this is also important, the U.S. media, overwhelmingly, at least the mainstream of it, obviously we have people like me and others in independent spaces that, we'll try to give you guys a more accurate picture of what's really going on. But in terms of the mainstream media over the last couple of days, all that I have seen from them, from CNN, from MSNBC, from Fox News, is just wall-to-wall pro-war propaganda. The first thing that they did when Israel launched an illegal, aggressive war against Iran is they got a bunch of IDF spokespeople to come on. Here we have a video with Yoav Gallant, wanted fugitive war criminal Yoav Gallant, who was on CNN, and he said the U.S. has an obligation to assist Israel's operation in Iran. This guy has an active arrest warrant out for him from the International Criminal Court for crimes committed against people in Gaza. This guy is an absolute genocidal monster, and CNN is having him on as if he's some sort of a valued voice in this space. Not to mention the fact that he has the audacity to say that the United States, my country, not your country, has an obligation to get ourselves involved in another destructive, bloody, endless war in the Middle East that will destabilize the entire region. We don't have an obligation to shit. I mean, this is how they think about the United States. We're just their attack dog, or maybe they're our attack dog, or maybe it's both. I mean, it's a suicide pact that we have between the United States and Israel. That's what this is. Obligation. Go fuck yourself. You have an obligation to go submit yourself to The Hague. How about that? And again, the US media, just pathetic. Pathetic having these people on. We also have here Benjamin Netanyahu using some similar language to what was used in the run-up to the Iraq war, which again, obviously Benjamin Netanyahu was testifying before Congress, was saying, this will lead to reverberations of peace in the region before we invaded Iraq. How did that turn out? But here he is using very similar language in regards to regime change in Iran. He says, quote, "Your hour of freedom is near. It is happening now. 80% of the people in Iran despise the regime. Just like Cyrus the Great freed the Jews, now it is your time to be free. Rise up and make Iran great again." Make Iran great again. He's calling on the Iranian people to rise up, to topple their government. We also have the son of the previous Shah of Iran, who's, I guess, sort of like soft launching a remote coup because he's not in Iran or even close to Iran. I believe he's in the United States. I don't even know where he is right now. But here we have the son of the previous Shah of Iran, backed by the United States, who is soft launching a remote coup attempt against Iran. He says, all it takes now is a nationwide uprising to put this nightmare to an end, and may I be with you soon. He's trying to install himself as the U.S. and Israeli-backed leader of Iran. We also have Pete Hegseth using some Orwellian language here, I guess is the only way you could put it. He says, what you are watching in real time is peace through strength and America first. Peace through strength and America first. So peace through strength means launching an illegal offensive war of aggression against Iran. That means peace. And America first means joining a war against Iran on Israel's behalf. I mean, again, the Orwellian doublespeak is reaching nuclear levels. No pun intended. Pete Hegseth for you guys, and Jesse Waters as well. Also, by the way, to show you how deeply unserious Fox News is, the first question that Jesse Waters asked Pete Hegseth as we're in the midst of spiraling towards a direct war with Iran was about the goddamn military parade. You know, the sad military parade that Trump had on his birthday, where you had like creaky little tanks that were rolling down the street and soldiers that were sort of just like strolling around and an empty crowd. That was the first question he asked about him, was about how marvelous the parade was for Donald Trump. I mean, just a sick joke. Now, we also have the IDF in Israeli embassies putting out some interesting videos and graphics here that I wanted to explore with you guys. This one is fun. Here we have the IDF insinuating that if Israel and the United States don't go to war with Iran right now and topple the regime and destroy all of their nuclear infrastructure, that apparently Iran is on the verge of destroying the entire planet. So just to run you through, I mean, they say Iran has a plan with their ballistic missile capabilities and their accelerating process to obtain nuclear bombs, a plan that will threaten millions of innocent lives, and a plan that doesn't stop with us, because their next plan will be, and they say, I mean, guys, this is how stupid they think we are. They say that Iran's plan, if we don't invade them, is that they're going to destroy the United States, China, as if that makes any sense, not even enemies of China, the United Kingdom, Italy, France, Hungary, Belgium, Kazakhstan, apparently as well, RIP Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Sweden, Germany, Egypt, Russia, Austria, Romania, Ukraine, Poland, Lithuania, and Israel. So, I mean, it's just like deeply unserious. What are we talking about here? Iran isn't even a threat to the United States, let alone to any of these other countries that we're talking about. Iran is going to be a threat to China, to Russia, to Lithuania, to Ukraine. Where are we getting this from? I mean, it's lazy propaganda. Now, we also have here just deeply ironic posts coming. This one from the Embassy of Israel to the United States. They're posting, and this is apparently, I guess, made by the IDF, posting as if, Iran is targeting Israeli civilians. Aren't they so evil? A couple of images here. Israeli civilians, Israeli civilians, Israeli civilians. I mean, guys, we're talking about the same military that has turned Gaza into, in the words of Donald Trump, a parking lot. This is what Gaza looks like right now. Imagine doing this to a population of 2 million people. You've attacked homes, residential buildings, schools, mosques, hospitals, churches, refugee camps, aid workers, journalists, sniped children in the head at a mass scale. You've been starving the entire population. There's basically nothing left standing, and you're moving forward with daily aid massacres. You're moving forward with a plan to fully ethnically cleanse the population there. You've killed a vast majority innocent men, women, and children. The estimate's anywhere between, on the low end, 50,000, and on the higher ends, up to 400,000. And you have the audacity to say Iran is targeting civilians. Iran is committing war crimes. What are we talking about here? Did you just forget what happened over the last 19 months? Another one here. They say Iran is attacking. Israel is targeting. Targeting what? This is, again, another image of Gaza here. Were you, as pointed out here by Saul Rod, targeting the earth? Is that what you were targeting? Because where's Hamas in this equation? Hamas is hiding inside every single building in Gaza. Is that what I'm supposed to believe? There's nothing left standing. There's nothing. And they have the audacity to say, oh, we're doing targeted strikes. Targeted strikes. We also have here pretty alarming stuff being said in U.S. media. Here we have on Bloomberg Radio them floating the idea of potential upside to all of this, which is we could get our hands on Iranian oil. Not even kidding, guys.
I mean, for the big oil names, Exxon, Chevron, and so forth, their stocks are hardly moving.
And I understand that. This is not a good thing for them. You know, we've seen wars in the Arabian Gulf lead to oil price spikes, but what comes after that? Recessions, demand downturns, and price drops. This is not a good thing if you're an oil company or an oil producer.
Yeah.
Now, what would be interesting is if there is regime change in Iran and you could get private companies operating in that country with the world's third largest oil reserves, gas reserves, third largest oil reserves. So there's a lot of oil there. And if Iran were to have regime change, peace and stability would be strengthened. But the oil companies, though,
they're just openly talking about this shit. Think about this. We're talking about a war. If we're doing full regime change here, a war that would kill who knows how many, potentially tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of lives that would be completely upended and destroyed. And he's salivating at the notion that, well, there is a potential upside. Maybe if we do regime change and it's a Western-friendly regime that we install, then they'll let us exploit their oil. I mean, again, the irony of saying that when the history of how we got to this moment right now ties to that exact thing. This is why we overthrew the democratically elected government of Iran back in the 1950s with Mohammad Mossadegh. It was the United States and the UK overthrowing him because he wouldn't let us continue exploiting their oil. We installed the Shah, which eventually led to the Iranian Revolution and the current government apparatus that they have now. So like the entire history of how we got to this point right now, the history of how we ended up with bad relations or adversarial relations with Iran ties back to this exact topic. And he's just casually like, yeah, maybe let's just do it again. Maybe let's just topple the regime, install a Western-friendly government that will allow us to steal their oil. Wouldn't that be great? It worked out so great the last time. Amazing. Just amazing. Another one here. The COO, Chief Operating Officer of Lockheed Martin, obviously a top weapons manufacturer here in the United States, is saying that we are in the beginning of a 3 to 5 year surge in defense spending. Bragging about the fact on CNBC that war is a racket and, the destruction of the planet, the destruction of millions of lives is going to be greatly profitable for these weapons manufacturers. We also have here, in terms of a potential glimmer of hope to prevent all of this, Representative Thomas Massie working in coordination with Representative Ro Khanna on a war powers resolution to stop or to prevent Trump from going to war with Iran. So, to be clear, guys, Donald Trump constitutionally, legally, does not have the authority to unilaterally take us to war with Iran. He doesn't have that authority. And so, here you have this war powers resolution that's just reaffirming, if it passes, to Donald Trump that we are preventing you from using American armed forces to fight Iran. So I hope that this gets more signatories. I hope that this ends up passing, but doesn't change the fact that the President of the United States cannot legally, constitutionally, unilaterally declare war. That is the power of Congress. According to the U.S. Constitution, is to the power to declare war. resides with Congress, not with the president unilaterally. And then they'll try to use these loopholes of using like the 2001 AUMF to justify it in this endless war on terror or whatever. But this is important, guys. So we'll have to track this over the next couple of days and see what happens with that, because that needs to pass. In terms of where it stands right now, we have here from Prem again, 12 members of Congress who have so far signed on to this effort. 2.2% of Congress. Here are the senators and House members. In the House, we have Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In the Senate, we have Tim Kaine, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Jeff Merkley, Chris Van Hollen, Ed Markey, Tammy Baldwin, and Tina Smith. So there's a couple different things that are in the works here. You have the Senate War Powers Resolution, the House War Powers Resolution, and then you also have the No War Against Iran Act, which is a separate thing, but I'm sure all of these people would sign on to the War Powers Resolution as well. So 12 members of Congress out of how many hundreds? I don't know, close to 500 members of Congress that we have in the Senate and the House put together. We're talking about 12 that have signed on to this. Finishing off here, as a reminder for you guys, as all of this is happening, and as much of my coverage and much of the discussion right now is centered around Israel and Iran for good reason, we cannot afford to take our eyes off of Gaza. And I haven't been taking my eyes off of it. I haven't, because of the constrictions and how many videos I can make and can pump out. I have been focusing on Israel and Iran, but I've been watching as every single day for the last 2 weeks, since Israel and the United States, through the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, since they launched that about 2 weeks ago, it has been day after day, continuous massacres. This is just the latest one. Here from Reuters, Israeli tanks kill 59 people in Gaza crowd trying to get food aid, according to medics on the ground. 59. Reportedly, there were also over 220 who were injured in this. This was in 1 day, and this has been happening every single day for 2 weeks straight. And remember, the first aid massacre that happened, in my video, you can go check it from I think like 14 days ago or so, we had to go through and debunk all of the Israeli lies because they were denying it, and they were saying, no, it was actually Hamas, or somebody was approaching us suspiciously, and we had to go through and debunk their lies about the first aid massacre. And again, since then, it's been every single day. They don't even bother to deny it anymore. They don't even feel any pressure to have to justify what they're doing. These aren't aid distribution sites. They are traps to funnel thousands of Palestinians there who are desperate and starving and hungry and are trying to feed themselves and their families, and they're using it to massacre them by the hundreds at this point. It reminds me of when, early on, we covered the first Israeli bombing of the Al-Ali hospital inside of Gaza. And there was like a whole week-long news cycle. You had all of these Israeli politicians and spokesmen who were coming out of the woodwork, going on mainstream media in the U.S., full-blown propaganda effort to deny that they would ever bomb a hospital. We would never do that, right? And then since then, they've bombed every single hospital in Gaza. They have utterly destroyed the entire medical system. They have targeted medical workers over and over and over again. In some cases, execution style, as we covered with the 15 Gaza medical workers that were then put in a mass grave with zip ties behind their back. They have kidnapped some doctors, taken them hostage, and then tortured them in Israeli torture camps. And that all sparked from them originally saying, we would never attack a hospital, right? So this is how the game is played. Deny, deny, deny up front, and then the U.S. media moves on. They run the Israeli talking points, and then by the time that this has happened 15 times in a row, or by the time they've completely obliterated Gaza's medical system, then the U.S. media isn't even talking about it. This is just normalized at this point. We have normalized absolutely insane and unimaginable levels of dehumanization of Palestinians. These are human beings. These are human beings who I can't even say are being treated like animals. Because if we saw here in the United States a fucking zoo treating animals in the way that Israel is right now at these aid distribution sites, there would be a national uproar. We wouldn't even allow animals to be treated in this way. I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And all of this is happening in the background of Israel now escalating with Iran. Just in the last few weeks, they've been attacking in Gaza, in Lebanon, in the West Bank, which has now essentially become a full-blown fascist police state, heavy crackdowns happening in the West Bank, in Syria, and now in Iran as well as in Yemen. Like 6 different countries that are being attacked by Israel all at the same time. And we're supposed to believe, no, it's Iran that's the regional threat. It's Iran that's destabilizing. It's Iran that's a rogue terrorist state. No, we know who the genocidal rogue terrorist state is. It's Israel. It's Israel, who is being fully and completely backed by the United States, both Democrats and Republicans. So I'll keep you guys updated as this spiral continues, but it really feels inevitable at this point. Donald Trump is about to walk us into another endless, pointless, illegal, bloody war in the Middle East.
Politic guy has the best politics. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me. Everyone is saying